The book that we're talking about is called Tommy and the Order of Cosmic Champions. And it's written by Tony. Tony, what can I say about you, Tony? Didn't you once have a band called Tony? No, I'm joking. It's written by Tony Great and Tony Rapino. I don't know which one is the greater of the two. Is it Tony Great or Tony Rapino? But either way, both good writers, apparently. One wrote the story, the other wrote the actual book. Now, here's the deal. This book has got many unique traits to it. And as I said, it brings that nostalgia. So for fans of the 80s, fans of pop culture, there's a lot of pop culture references in it. And you can feel, much like Stand By Me, that this is kind of bringing you back to that childhood place that we all think of so fondly, even if the memories themselves aren't really too wonderful. And there's a lot of my story in this book. There's a lot of, I think a lot of people's stories are intertwined into the fiber and the fabric of the story. Because what the story is about, and I'm not going to give away the ending, but I'm going to give you a brief synopsis from my perspective. It's the story of young Tommy, who is an abused child, who is going through a difficult life at home, as I can relate. He's in the midst of a divorce from his parents. His dad is an alcoholic and doesn't spend time with him and is very self-obsessed. His mom, kind of too buried in everything, dealing with the divorce, doesn't have time for the kid. So the kid feels isolated and alone. And he's got a best friend, and, he feels like the best friend is the one person, Tommy's best friend is the one person that he can rely on, the one person that he can go to, above all else, that's going to have some compassion for him. And then there's Miranda, and Miranda is, of course, his love interest. He's only 12, so he's not actually old enough to have a girlfriend yet, but that's the girl that he really loves, even though he can't get close to her because he's too shy. And the best friend, Evan, is not really a friend at all. He's a double-crossing, two-timing, backstabbing jerk of a guy. And he actually ends up teaming up with the bully in Tommy's life and double-crossing him. And while all of this terrible stuff is happening, Tommy needs an escape. And the escape that he has is watching this cartoon show, and he's got loads of VHS tapes of this cartoon show, and I think it's a comic book series as well, but it's called The Order of the Cosmic Champions, and they decide to do this big contest where they're looking for a new character design. And Tommy creates a character that he believes is going to be the best character ever made, and it, is the perfect character for the show. And he dreams up this character who is actually a bad guy. And so what happens is Tommy submits his entry to be part of this contest, and you think he's going to win, but in fact he loses. He does not get the contest. He does not win. So this is like the final straw for him, because his life is already so chaotic and destructive and sad and depressing, that he has to figure out a way to escape from it. And the way that he uses is he builds a fantasy world for himself by creating these characters. But when he loses the contest, it drives him over the edge, and he says, this can't be. So he decides that he's going to run away from home and go on an adventure to try and find the kid that actually won the contest and convince him to, basically help him design his character and use his character instead of the winning design that actually won. Somewhat. Okay, and he actually does. He runs away, and while doing this, all of a sudden the lines start getting blurred and these characters start coming to life. And you don't know really if the characters are actually coming to life or if he's maybe going a little bit crazy. Is he having delusions of grandeur, these hallucinations? What's going on? So in the end, it's this kind of epic journey. It's almost a buddy movie, but it's a fantasy, action, adventure buddy movie. Like I said, there's a lot of Transformers and He-Man. And then there's also like the kind of adventure kind of buddy movie. Like there's a bit of Goonies, there's a bit of Stand By Me, there's a bit of all of that kind of road trip adventure type movie in the story. And there's also some very deep stuff. So, it's a fantastical story. It's a great adventure. But at the same time, it's also, and I have to say this, for abused children or people who've been through abuse, there's some very triggering elements to it because it's written in a very realistic way. And it can be very painful and very emotionally jarring for the reader to get through this. So I would say if you've been through abuse, tread with caution because it will definitely rile you up at the very least until we start getting into the adventure. And then once we get into the adventure, then it's kind of like all is forgiven, all is forgotten because now you're getting kind of engaged and engrossed in these fantastical creatures who are showing up, kind of like Transformers, one, who becomes his buddy and his kind of mentor. And then you've got the other guy who believes that he's his father because he created him, but he's a bad guy. He's this bad creature and he's doing terrible things. And Tommy doesn't want to take responsibility for the fact that he could have created something so evil. But the moral to all of this is that we have to stand up for what we believe in. Something that I can relate to very vividly and very deeply. When your best friend needs you, you got to be there for your best friend. And in this case, it's not the best friend necessarily that he's there for, but it's he thinks he's being there for his best friend. He thinks he's being there for the girl. He thinks he's being there for all of these people. But in fact, he's just trying to love himself. But he's been kept down by fear his whole life. And this is his chance to rise above and break through his fears. And that's what this is about. It's about him taking this leap of faith. It's about, and it's not to say that running away is maybe the best approach to restart your life, but I think in the bigger picture, it's about taking chances, taking risks, because the reward, and I think there's a quote actually I wanted to use. I wrote this down. One of my favorite quotes in this book is, sometimes our greatest moments of enlightenment come from our worst mistakes. And that's a very true statement. I mean, I think the message here, is something that I kind of live by, which is that pain, I've had a lot of pain in my life personally. And I've come to believe that pain is our greatest teacher. And without going through a tremendous amount of pain, we can't learn. We learn from growing and we grow from pain. Pain forces us to grow. So therefore, we must grow through a lot of pain in our lives to become the people that we are today. And we can't do that by sitting on our laurels. We can't do that by resting and taking things as they come and just accepting life on life's terms all the time. Sometimes we have to use our sheer force of will and make things happen. We have to believe in them enough. We have to visualize and realize our dreams to make them a reality. And in this case, Tommy and the Order of Cosmic Champions becomes his reality, and he makes his reality what he wants it to be. He envisions his future, he envisions his reality, and he brings that reality to life. He brings that vision to life. And he learns that sometimes you got to take chances. You can't let fear dominate you. And I think that's a great message because that is the creed that I live by. We cannot be controlled by our fears. There's nothing to fear but fear itself, and fear is only an illusion. So, I give Tommy and the Order of Cosmic Champions 2 thumbs up. I think it's a fantastical, exciting, and interesting read. I think it's dark, but yet funny. It's frightening, but adventurous. It's painful, but rewarding.